Hey there, gang. Welcome back to Papa's Model Workshop. I'm Papa, and this is my workshop. So we're continuing on with our 48 Ford. And as you can see, we are going with an orange color. And this is the engine. I finally got that mounted in there. Orange wheels. And here's the bottom. I will likely end up weathering this and griming it up a little bit because that's the way I do a lot of my builds to avoid that toyish appearance. So that'll get a little bit of weathering before we're all said and done. So we have our orange color in place. To add a little bit of interest, now if you recall, I elected to go with a white interior in here, okay? And this is how this is going to look with the white interior. Can you see that okay? Actually, if I put the boot on here, I don't know where it is. It illustrates that white and orange contrast a little bit better. But I think you get the point. I'm going to go white and orange. Okay, so to add a little bit of interest, or maybe a little bit of pop, whatever you want to call it, what you can do is you can accent your interior. Now, this is the interior door panel, all right? And you can see, let me get something to point with here. You can see, obviously, right up here, I went with orange. Now, I painted that. I taped it off and I painted it. I think I airbrushed it. I can't remember if I did that with an actual brush or if I airbrushed it. I think I taped it off and I shot this top area with the airbrush. But if you'll take a closer look, I've got these orange lines, see, that are going down. And that adds just a tiny bit of interest. It breaks up that white. I did the same thing on this seat right here. Okay, I added that little bit of orange in there, all right? And how do you do that? Get that orange stripe in there? Well, if you'll recall, I did the panel lines on here. Whoop, here, okay. I did the panel lines here using an acrylic ink, okay, Speedball acrylic ink. And I used a calligraphy pen to do that. So what I did was I took the same orange color that I used to paint this, which was Tamiya LP, yeah, LP51. All right, this is pure orange by Tamiya. And I really thinned it down, and I put a little bit of that mixture right inside this plastic cup. So I made it almost like a wash. What I did to achieve that is I took a pipette. In fact, you can still see it has the orange paint in there. I used 0.5 milliliter of the orange paint, okay, measured that out in the pipette, 0.5 milliliter. And then to that 0.5 milliliter, I used 10 drops of Mr. Color leveling thinner to make up this very thin orange wash. And then from there, I took my calligraphy pen, right, and I dipped it in. Now, there's not a lot in here, so you kind of have to tip it to make a little bit of a puddle, and then you can dip this in there, you know, into the puddle, all right? And I'll show you. I'm going to move this camera so you can see this a little bit better, so hang on. All right, so we're back over the paint bench, and again, this is what I just showed you. All right, so let's try that on this door panel. All right, I've got one in here already, as you can see. So let's try it over here, and here's my mix. All right, 0.5 milliliter and 10 drops of the Mr. Color leveling thinner, okay? So I'm going to take my calligraphy pen, I'm going to dip it right into that puddle there, okay? And that will get my thin orange wash right into that pen, okay? All right, let's set that aside. Let me put my glasses on so I can see. Now, before I do this, let me show you this, because this is important. I have a whole bunch of Q-tips, all right? Different sizes, all right? Different sizes. Right down to these little ones here, okay? And I'm keeping these right on my right-hand side, so when I come in here, if I get a boo-boo alert and I get a little bit of splattering, this is thin enough where, for the most part, if you quick grab a toothpick, a Q-tip or a cotton swab, that's what I'm trying to get to. If you quick grab a cotton swab, you can quickly wipe that off and you should be okay. So make sure you keep something nice and handy. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put one of each right here so I can quickly grab it. All right. So there's our 3 cotton swabs. We've got a big one, middle-sized one, and a small one. All right. So we are anticipating boo-boos before we even get started. Now, I have in fact, I've been standing here talking to you. I should probably dip into this again. All right. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to dip back into this. All right. And now you want to go straight down, all right? Don't come in here at an angle. Go straight down. And because this has a bit of a point to it, you don't want to press too hard, because if you press too hard, 2 things are going to happen. One is you're going to end up almost scribing the line or the seam deeper. And when you do that, this is going to splatter, okay? So straight up and down. And I'm going to try to do this from, let me move this light down here. Okay. I'm sorry. That light is probably in the way. Yeah, it's making everything out of focus. I'm going to have to move that. All right. I'm going to have to do this without light and from behind the camera. Let's see how this goes. All right. So I'm going to go straight in, and you want to do this in one straight line. And you might have to do this a couple of times to get it to come out. All right. And let's dip back in here again. There is it's not showing up on camera, but there is a very, very faint orange line there. Okay, there we go. It's coming up. All right. And we've got our line, and I'm going to take my small cotton swab, okay, because I've got a tiny little bit of bleed right there. All right. And I don't know, can you see that? That looks like it came out pretty nice. All right. Now, I went right in and did this. Here's what I'm going to suggest to you, though. I have some test spoons over here, okay? And what I would suggest is when you do this, when you dip this in and you want to, make your line, do it on a test spoon. You can even see that line right there? I tested it first, okay? So let's try this, all right? I'm going to dip it in. Where is it? All right, I'm going to dip this back in, and let's test it first and make sure that we're flowing. All right, that's what I would suggest you do. All right, and again, sometimes you have to go over this a couple of times to make it stand out. All right. All right, there's. Can you see that? All right. So I would suggest testing it on something like that. Okay. Back of a spoon is great because you've got this little seam in there, and you can put your point in there and just, run your test line. Okay. And that'll determine whether or not your wash is too thick or too thin. So that's what I did on this seat right here. Okay. And that's what I did on the door panel here, all right? And then I will continue on, and I will do the same thing on this seat here. So it just gives you a little dimension of interest by putting in that one little line, and that one little line in there really, in my opinion anyway, accomplishes a lot. All right. And you know, it's not too difficult to do. You can get these calligraphy pens at Michael's. This is a generic one. I showed you this in another video. And then what I do is I keep a little bit of thinner right over here, so you know I can, you know, if I get too much paint in there, and or you know, if it's clumping up or whatever have you, I can just dip this in to this little container of thinner. You don't want to dip it into your big bottle, because then the bottle is going to be contaminated. So, okay, so this was just a real quick video on adding a little bit of interest to the interior. I hope that was helpful. And you can do this really with any color. If you've done the panel liner, then you know this is very similar to the panel liner, except well, in this case it's lacquer, but it's thinned down just like your panel liner. Or if you are using the Speedball acrylic that I showed in the other video, and again I mentioned in that particular case I thinned the Speedball down 1:1 to make that very watery wash. But my point is you can do this with any color at all, which is great, because now you have a little methodology of adding little details like this to your interior, regardless of the color of your build. You can do it with any color. Okay, so I hope you found this helpful, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Hit the thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video.